But thank you.
All right, so we're joined from Oakland, California by my
Hey.
dear friend, the amazing Lashonda King. Great Instagram follow, great stuff that she's got online. The Compton Counselor, just so many things that she's involved in. Dear friend of mine for over 15 years now. So we are always glad to have her, that she's made time for us. Talking about some real issues today for our high school seniors. We've got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson High School, our college and career readiness class. And we're recording this for all of our friends at Madison County Schools, Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, and our Academic Options Center and our YouTube channel. So we
Look
thank you so much
at
for
Yes,
taking some time for us today.
friend. Yes, friend. Oh my gosh, Greg, I'm so excited about all that. Well, thank you for having me. Hey, class that ain't talking back to me. My name is Lashonda King. As you can see by my hat, I'm straight out of Compton. I am a licensed pre-K through 12 school counselor, a licensed eligible therapist, cosmetologist, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Anytime Greg hits my line, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing to make sure I have time to speak to his classes. And now other people, this makes me so excited and so honestly so thankful to be here. Greg did share your questions in advance. Oh, Mr. Pygott, my bad. um, so actually the funny story about that is actually when I was a teacher, I refused to be called Miss King. Unless I was forced to. So in Chicago, they actually made me. So when I worked in high schools, I worked in middle schools, but I always had my kids call me Miss Lashonda. Miss giving me that respect as an elder, but Lashonda just letting them know that I'm a person who learns from them the same way they learn from me. But anyway, so I go by Miss Lashonda in the teacher world. But so my background is pretty diverse. I'm like a little unicorn. My unicorn horn is hiding behind my Compton hat. But so my bachelor's degree is from a combination of UC Berkeley and Spelman College. Shout out to HBCUs. I have a bachelor's in sociology with a minor in education. And I have my first master's in athletic administration and kinesiology from Michigan State because I played basketball, volleyball, and football, and I love sports. And then my second master's is in counseling from Austin Peay State University, right down the road in Clarksville, Tennessee. Uh, and so that's where me and Mr. Pygott met at Austin Peay. Other than my academic backgrounds, I love my vocational license. I am a licensed cosmetologist and makeup artist. And I say that because so many people stress college. And as a counselor, I do stress that college can be a good fit for people, but it's not the best fit for everybody at the best time in life. So what I always tell people, and how I even started working with Mr. Pygott on this, is that vocational careers, technical licenses and training are so, so important. Because when I was in college, but what actually paid my bills and allowed me to help my family pay their bills back home in Compton was that I did hair. I was the local dormtician. I had clients that came from like literally an hour and a half just to have me braid their hair back in the day. Before Instagram and all that, I had a following of like 60 people, including NFL clients with no Instagram, just word of mouth and doing my thing. So Mr. Pygott, you sent me those questions in text.
Yep.
Okay, so let me find them.
And I've got them as well.
Okay, let's do that. So I didn't like in real life, I like to just feel like we having conversations. And the hard part about being on Zoom, especially with teenagers, is I feel like I'm just talking at them. And like I'm gonna need y'all to send me some spirit fingers, some good energy over there, so I can feel like y'all are in the space. I forgot that since you're minors, Mr. Pygott can't show me your faces, but I know they're beautiful and amazing. So let's just kind of go from there.
Well, the first issue they had was talking about confidence after heartbreak. And honestly, I know how when you're 17, 18 years old, you think your world is over when you're in high school. And everybody that's here with me now does have college on their radar or community college on their radar. Mississippi, as all the bad press we get, has an amazing community college system and some amazing
Yes,
scholarships with 1 and 2 year
yes,
programs to get into the workforce. But
yes,
we also are a small school, so the heart, the relationships they build now are ones they've had for years. So they really want to talk about the confidence they could have after a heartbreak as they transfer or transition away from high school.
yes. So Confidence, man. That is something that is so important to have. And I feel like the generation now is so blessed, and y'all don't even understand really how blessed you are. Because, I fully own my auntie status. I'm hella auntie status over here. So when I was in high school and middle school, there was no internet at all. Like when I got to be like a 11th or 12th grader, we started to get access to dial-up internet. But I'm from the hood and we ain't had no money. So we didn't even have internet. Like I got internet when I went to college. And so right now, the internet is a double-edged sword, right? There's some really negative things on the internet, but there's so much empowerment on the internet. Like the young people of this generation have so much access to like mental health resources, self-help, and just like seeing representation of different faces, even like this. Like I'm all the way in Cali, but I can spread this beautiful melanin and let y'all know as a Black woman, a Black queer person. Oh yeah, I didn't tell y'all that I'm very on the spectrum. I'm a little autistic-y. I also have ADHD, but I still thrive anyway. I'm weird as hell, weird as heck, and I love it. Um, can you tell me if their hands go up? Do any of y'all know who Janelle Monáe is?
We got two.
Only two? Okay. All right. She might be a little, but should y'all look up Janelle Monáe. So the song that I love from Janelle Monáe is going to answer this question that they just asked me. So growing up, um, my confidence in myself academically was always on point. I was always an honor student. My confidence in a lot of areas were really great. But because I was late at developing, like I literally went to college, to high school looking like an elementary school student. I legitimately went to college looking like a ninth grader and or 10th, maybe a 10th grader. I look like a 10th grader in college. I started college at 17 and I started high school at 13, but not even just 13, but like an underdeveloped 13-year-old. So if you could imagine that in my community, girls started having boobs in like the 4th and 5th grade. And I didn't get adult boobs until I was 30, like legit 30. People used to call me ironing board. People used to, because I was also smart, people were trying to talk about, being nerd. And I'm like, okay, I own the nerd status. But, a lot of things that people said about my appearance, I had a beautiful face and had no idea, because I was so insecure about my body and things like that. So it's easier where this goes into the question of like how to have confidence after a heartbreak. It really doesn't matter about the heartbreak. It's the confidence that you have going into it. When you're confident going into a situation, the outcome doesn't matter because you got that swag anyway. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I have the swag that I have now. I had my own little swag in high school, but around like athletics, around like cars and engines, but in terms of me feeling like attractive like the other girls my age, like I didn't, because I just felt so like little. I felt so like, man, ain't nobody really checking for me. But anyway, so with that being said, like the real key to having confidence after a heartbreak is to have confidence before it. And then once that heartbreak happens, if you don't have any confidence before, it's going to, this is my favorite little big word, exacerbate. So to make it worse. So I love that word. But if you already don't have confidence going into a relationship, whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, or even with your family members, any sort of damage or loss to that relationship is going to exacerbate that lack of confidence, because you're going to start to feel like, oh, I wasn't cute enough, I wasn't this enough, I wasn't that enough. But that really stems from that lack of confidence that you already had. So if you work on building it when you are before that, then you don't have to worry about it as much. I'm gonna show y'all. Look at this. Can y'all see this picture?
Wow.
This is how I went to high school.
Wow.
This is how I look when I went to high school. You see these boobs? This is how I went to high school. AP honors classes, and that's how I looked in high school. So when I tell you I definitely had some confidence issues and never saw myself as beautiful until like way later. I just didn't, because it wasn't a conversation that people had with me, and I didn't have it with myself. And one thing I'll tell you all is that I like to use analogies. Like if you suck at basketball and you trying to teach somebody else how to play basketball, you're going to be teaching them bad shooting form. You're going to be teaching them how to like shoot up bricks, you know. And that's not always bad, because maybe you taught them more than they already knew, even if it wasn't the best thing to do. And I say that about our families. Our families only know what they know. A lot of us have what's called generational trauma, where you know, there's been abuse from like generations ago, and that just get passed down and passed down and passed down. So generational trauma is something that your generation is actually able to break, because you all have so much access to mental health resources, to humans like me who don't even live there, who can tell you, hey, counseling is normal, even for Black, brown, rural, hood. Like you can still be from the hood and go to counseling. I know this sounds like a lot, but like seriously, having confidence in yourself before, or even choosing to have some confidence and swag about yourself after, is really the key to having confidence after a breakup, before a breakup. So Janelle Monáe is a very unique artist. And so she has this song
Great
that,
actress as well. She was in,
yes, I,
she was in Hidden Figures. She was the one that I forget the character's name. Goes
yeah,
to,
she
she's
was
the
one of
first
the
one to get in the night school in Hidden Figures. She was in Antebellum, which wasn't a great movie, but was a great role for her. She sings on the she sings the song with Fun.
She just won the Soul Train Award. They act so Janelle Monáe identifies as non-binary. So I'm a woman, but I also kind of identify as non-binary, because the stereotypical things that make a girl or a boy, I do all of that. So I am a woman, but I also identify as non-binary, because I don't believe that like what I'm good at and what I love is defined by me having like, you know, ovaries and, you know, a vagina. But so Janelle Monáe is originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and her birthday is December 4th and mine's December 7th. So we're both equally weird little unicorns. But so she has this song called I Like That. And it's really one of my favorite songs. And so she's basically talking about how she's different. Like she's not like anybody else. And there's one part in the song where she says, I remember when you called me weird. We was in math class, third row. I was sitting by you right before Mr. Amon's class, because my mama couldn't afford new J's, polo, thrift store, thrift clothes. That was all I knew. Do you remember? Oh, I remember when you laughed when I cut my perm off and you rated me a 6. I was like, damn. But even back then, with tears in my eyes, I always knew I was the ish. And so every time, like even right now, when I hear that, it makes me almost cry, because when you from the hood, or just you're Black or you're a person of color, J's, you know, name brands, you know, all these status things are so important to our community. And when you don't have them, you also get teased for that. My parents shopped at the thrift store because they didn't believe in going in extra debt so I can keep up with everybody else. You know, my parents have a home. They've had the same home since I was 2. And they had that home because they didn't have to keep up with everybody. I'm about to be 42, and my parents have been in the same home since they bought it for my 2nd birthday. And so I say that to say, like, I had to wear thrift store clothes before it was popular. You know, I got teased on the playground once to like tears because I had on a fake pair of Guess jeans and I didn't know. I didn't know they were fake. My mom just said, oh, I think the kids are wearing these and they had them at the thrift store, so I got them for you. And I didn't know they were fake until I got bust out on the tetherball pole about having fake Guess jeans. But so the part that she says, but back then, even with the tears in my eyes, I always knew I was ish. So y'all, the key to confidence is to just own yourself. Like if you're weird, own it. I talk a lot. Call me motor mouth, that's fine. I'm smart, like own it. You're an athlete, whatever makes you unique. I had big teeth when I was growing up, but listen, my smile's still popping. You know, like it been popping before braces, Mr. Pie Guy, I'll tell you. You see it if you go on my Instagram, but low key though, confidence is really just building yourself up. As adults, a lot of people have to do this kind of therapy called inner child work, where they go back and talk to themselves at your age and tell them it's okay that you didn't look like everybody else. You were still beautiful. You, it's okay that your parents separated. It didn't have anything to do with you. It's okay that you were raised in foster care. Your parents, didn't want to give you up, but you needed a different life, and that gave you the opportunity. So a lot of adults do what's called inner child work to kind of like heal that old part of them that didn't get the love. And you all are actually at that age where you don't have to do as much, but your 8-year-old self might need to be told, I love you. Your 14-year-old self might need to be told, you're beautiful. And so you can even start doing inner child work now. And the more you heal that, you just bloom into this amazing flower, because you don't have anybody else shrinking your light, or shrinking your flower or dimming your light. And when they try to, bro, what? Who are you talking to? I'm Lashonda. Like, if you don't go have several seats and ask somebody else like about me, like, you got to get that energy. That was a long answer, but that was a
Yeah,
really
and I tell you a great quote. We had a guest a couple of weeks ago. That's a local guy that's lost the use of his legs and he's now paralyzed.
mm,
He said, "I don't compare what I don't have to other people, because comparison is the thief of joy."
absolutely. On my page, I have a quote that says, "Never measure your success with someone else's ruler." Because, like, even if you talk about, the B word, the Bible, not the other B word, the Bible, there's a story in there about these really wealthy people who gave this large sum of money, as a donation, and these really, really impoverished and poor people that gave a little bit of money, but that the amount that they gave was way more significant, because the people who had a lot of money, they proportionally were not giving anything that affected them. But those people who had less, they gave of their soul, they gave of their heart. What they gave was a true sacrifice. So, like, we always just got to know that who you are is enough. Who you are is more than enough. Like, one thing you can do to increase your confidence, your brain believes whatever you say. So even if you don't believe it to start with, like, affirmations in the mirror help. I still have to do them sometimes now. Like, I am worthy, I am beautiful, I am powerful, I am intelligent.
Yeah, and you post some really good ones as well.
I
If
am
you follow you on
calm.
YouTube, you got some great affirmations that you post that are just a few seconds long, but they're very powerful.
Yeah, so people think I'm not gonna lie to myself. Well, you lying to yourself if you tell yourself you're not great. You're whatever you want to be. If you want to be great, you're gonna be great. If you want to be lame, you're gonna be lame. Like, everything is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your brain believes everything you tell it if you tell it enough. Look at Kanye, the shade.
Yeah.
What's our next question?
Another thing I want to talk about is anxiety levels. Obviously, now they have a lot thrown at them. There's a lot, I don't understand why the financial aid for state and the federal keeps getting moved around. So they've got a lot of deadlines getting thrown at them, scholarship deadlines, having to stay on top of grades. And some of them are still indecisive about exactly where they want to go to college or what they want to do. And that's totally normal. So
Is it,
obviously they're dealing with a lot of anxiety now, and they were wondering to know how they deal with that as they move on through high school or out of high school to their next step.
yeah, the first way you deal with anxiety is to give yourself grace. It's like, if you got a friend or a little sister and they're having a bad day, you're not gonna go to them like, you're so stupid. Like, why are you? And if you do that, then don't. But you're not going to be mean to them. You're not going to be blaming them for something. Like, you're going to have grace and compassion towards them. If you think about the person you love the most in the world, like your favorite little person, you need to talk that way to yourself. So when you're feeling anxious, um, just give yourself some grace and say, hey, we got a lot going on, self. And it's okay that we feel this way. It's normal because it's a lot. Um, so depression is spending a lot of time in the past, and anxiety is spending a lot of time in the future. I like to give this cute little analogy of driving a car.
That's a great analogy.
No, the analogy is even better.
Okay.
So my favorite analogy is talking about a car. So if we think about how a car works and we think about the windows and mirrors, the rear view, the back mirror is really big, but you really don't look out of that, but you do have that really small rear view mirror so you can see what's behind you. And then when you're sitting in the driver's seat, on the side of you, you have these side view mirrors and also some blind spot mirrors. And then in front of you, you have this huge windshield in front of you. If you look in the past. So like the rearview mirror is important. You just need to glance every now and again and see what you don't already pass or see what's coming up behind you. But if you stare too much in the rearview mirror, you're going to crash into what's in front of you, right? If you spend too much time looking at your side view mirrors, that means comparing yourself to other people. You're going to run into something as well. But they are helpful to look at the blind spots to see if you're missing something, or to look at your peers or your mentors to gain from other people. But you can't look at it forever. The front windshield is huge. It's your present and it's your future. If you just stay in the present, that's the place where you really need to be a safe driver. If you look in 3 lights down way in the future, then you're actually probably going to run a light in front of you because you're looking. I've done that on accident before. Like I'm looking on accident at 2 or 3 lights behind, and then I'm at 2 before, and then I accidentally run the lights that's in front of me. That's what happens when you spend too much time in the future and not enough time in the present. So yes, it's important for us to look ahead to our future, but to give respect and honor what's happening in the present. Like you can think you want to go to Jackson State, you might get there and it just might not be the right fit for you, and that's okay. One thing you can do to help decrease your anxiety as a young person is not feel like you have to have your whole life figured out at 17, 16, and 18. Because bruh, I'm a coach. People are whole 50 and 60 years old and 40 and 30 with multiple degrees, PhDs, and they still don't know what they want to be when they grow up. And they don't went to college for 12 years and they still don't know.
Yeah, and then
So
when me and you met 15 years ago, we were in completely different fields, and we've both gone like that, and that was well into our 30s. So it's not uncommon, and there's nothing wrong with that.
absolutely not. And so what I tell people is to be responsible in the moment. And like this generation is spoiled. And I don't mean like no shade, y'all just are. And so because of things like Chat GPT, Google, the internet, like y'all don't have to work as hard as people in other generations. And even in my generation, we had computers, so the people who had to handwrite everything or type everything, like, and actually use like, typewriter. I mean, y'all over here, Google Voice and everything, and Chat GPT and papers. Don't be doing that because it'll get you kicked out of college, and that'll go in your academic record. So don't start the habit now. But basically, just make a plan and stick to it. Like be accountable to yourself. You don't be accountable to your mama, your auntie, your grandma, your school counselor, or whoever. Be accountable to yourself. When you shortchange anybody, you're shortchanging yourself, not actually them. When you take a shortcut to like turn in something to a teacher, you're actually just shortchanging yourself. They already got a job and degrees. They don't need like your cheating paper. Don't actually hurt them none. And if they try and like call you out on it, it's because they want you to be great or be better. So anxiety is just like you're thinking too much in the future. What's in the present? Get you a planner from Dollar General. Make your own planner. Put your deadlines in a list. Y'all use Google Docs and all that kind of stuff. Sort it out by date. Make a little, Google sheet and put the stuff and the due dates there. If you like me, I like visual stuff. I like to write stuff and make check boxes because I feel accomplished when I check off boxes. There's nothing wrong with that. We all get motivated by different stuff. Have an accountability partner, whether it's one of your other classmates who's more business oriented than you are, whether it's a trusted adult like Mr. Picott. Like find people who are gonna just like lovingly check on you, like, hey baby girl, you did your paper? Did you finish your FAFSA? Did you do your CSS profile, or did you, schedule your AccuPlacer, for your, community college interest? What about that Job Corps interview? Y'all have literally everything at your fingertips. Like there's no interview you can go on. There's no college essay. There's literally nothing that can come your way that you cannot Google search and get resources on how to be prepared for it. We didn't have that. Like I legitimately had to like go through books and read and go to the library and type in numbers and find a book on the bookshelf. Y'all ain't gotta do none of that. So
That's
y'all
if
really,
somebody told us about it.
yeah, like y'all don't have no excuse but to be great. Like literally, like y'all woke up like this. Y'all like are literally destined to change the world. So the more you just don't walk in your greatness and use your resources, you're really dishonoring your ancestors and all the people who slaved over Dewey Decimal Systems. Look it up. The Dewey Decimal System is sitting in the library reading stanky books, like, and all the people who had to type stuff by hand, like y'all are doing them a disservice for all the things that they help you all have today. So don't be anxious, just get it done. Like if you like me, make a list, If you need like a little, you need to get a whiteboard and put that stuff with, colorful dry erase markers. You need some little magnets that make you feel good, little sunshine, a little arrow. Learn what you need to be successful and do it.
I love it. And that's a great segue to what they wanted to ask about next, was about adjustment to life out after they leave their parents' home, because that's coming up for all of them.
Yeah, so some people don't leave their parents' home, and if you don't, that's okay. Let me say that first. And then I can't speak for other cultures, but being a Black person, I will say that Black people have this thing where we push our birds out the nest faster than other communities. And one thing I'll tell y'all, and please just trust me on this one, I'm giving you real auntie energy right now, is just because you get out your parents' house and just because you go to college does not mean that their mindset is going to understand that you're grown. Because I remember coming back home my first year of college. I started college at 17 and a half. But like I worked. My first paid job was when I was 13. So in my mind, I was helping y'all pay bills at 15 and 16. And I definitely paid my own bills, all of them, at 17 and a half, and helped you pay your mortgage. So in my mind, I was grown. Listen, girl, I came home my first summer of college and I was trying to go to the movies with my homegirl. My mama gave me an 11 o'clock curfew. I said, Mama, the movie starts at 10:40. And why do I even have a curfew? I just spent a whole year of my own at the hardest #1 public university in the country, one of the top schools in the world. I just spent a whole year on my own. And you said I wasn't grown because I don't pay no bills, but I do. I pay mine and I have pay yours. So how do I have a curfew? And that infuriated her like no other. And I broke curfew. And she told me don't come back. And so I left and I went somewhere else. And then she missed me. And then I came back. But then it made her realize, one, she had to see me in a different light. But my mom is different than a lot of moms. Like my mom, people always felt like my mom let me talk back because she let me have a voice. And I know a lot of people don't have that. Their mamas and their, family members or their foster family is very much like children are to be, seen, not heard. Like you don't never talk back to adults. You kids ain't got no respect, but so just remember that every generation does not know how to transition from you being a life stage, dependent to you becoming an adult, and just give them grace and be patient with them as they transition. The more patient you can be, the easier the transition is. If you just popping off like I'm grown, that just like anger creates more anger, you know what I'm saying? But just give them grace, like, hey mama, like I know you're used to me being in high school or me being a kid, but I'm trying to become an adult now. Like how can we learn how to be, a young adult here with you being my mama still? Like how do we learn this new place together? Because like when you were in kindergarten, you were one level of, person. When you became a middle schooler, you were another, stage of life. And so same thing when you go to college, or if you just get your own place, don't come back up in your people's house acting like you can't nobody tell you nothing. I mean, don't let people disrespect you, but at the same time, like just remember it's a transition for them too. I know people don't talk about it, but like don't get stuck on what everybody's doing on the gram, because people be flexing and capping. Make a budget. If you don't know how to do that, Google it. Y'all don't have checkbooks and y'all don't have all this stuff
We're
like
gonna
we
have
did.
a financial person Friday in Washington D.C. and she does a great job with that, talking about that.
That's wonderful. Like manage whatever little money you have, start saving accounts early, and go to therapy. Like when you get a job, if they offer therapy, don't go. If you go to a college, they all have counseling centers. Go. The most impactful day of my life, and I don't say the best day, but kind of the best day, was in October, a Friday. I was a Friday, 9 o'clock in the morning. I was at Spelman College in Atlanta, and I got robbed at gunpoint. And I was supposed to go to Howard Homecoming. We were supposed to be lit. We was about to turn up. I mean, y'all heard of Freaknik and twerking, but we was the queens of it back in the South, baby. But so I was supposed to be going to Howard, to Washington, D.C. for Howard Homecoming. If you don't know about it, look it up. But I got robbed at gunpoint at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I literally tell people that was the best day of my life. And people look at me like I'm so crazy when I say that. And I say, the reason why that was the best day of my life was because that experience first allowed me to access therapy. I had been through my grandfather dying, my favorite person, bless you. I dealt with being sexually assaulted by a classmate in college and basically it being swept under the rug because he played football. You know, I dealt with a lot of stuff growing up, but because Black people didn't get therapy, hood kids didn't go to counseling, you know, all those things. You grew up in a house with two parents and y'all wasn't, you know, on the streets or, you know, wherever, like people minimized my trauma and people made me feel like the things that I was feeling inside were not significant enough to be healed from or to work through. And so the reason why being robbed at gunpoint was the best day of my life was because the next Friday, I refused to leave my room. I went to class every other day of the week. Every day was normal, but on Friday, I refused to leave. I just cried in my bed. I would not leave the house. And then the next week, like Saturday, I was good. The next week, I went to class, and then that second Friday, I was same thing. I could not leave the house. I just laid there crying. So that's a post-traumatic stress event, right? And so, oh man, my friends gardeners are outside landscaping. But so the person who helped me after I got robbed at gunpoint worked at the police station. Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the person who helped me, like on that Tuesday, she was like, "Look, girl, where you been at?" And I was like, "Oh, you know, I've been around." She's like, "I ain't seen you the last 2 Fridays. You always come to see me every day. Where you been?" And she asked me how I was doing with everything, and I told her what happened on those 2 Fridays. This woman went to her chief at the police station on campus, told him that she told him she needed somebody to cover for her, and walked me to the counseling center on campus. And that was my first exposure to counseling. And yes, I worked through that whole trauma about being robbed at gunpoint, but that's when I started to talk about my self-worth, my self-confidence, my issues with my mom, and this and this and that. And the freedom and the healedness that I felt from that was like magic. And that's literally like why I became a counselor. Cause I'm like, if counseling is this magic and this amazing, like I need to be spreading this, like, you know, I'm the hope dealer. Like I need to be out in these streets, like letting my people know, like, bro, this healing is real. Like to feel confident and to feel good about yourself and to be able to forgive people that have wronged you, to not like hold stuff against people, to not take stuff personal. Like when somebody pop off at you at school, 99.999% of the time, it ain't got nothing to do with you. Something happening at home, they're depressed, that girl cheated on them, or whatever it is, hurt people hurt people. So counseling helped me to like actually not let other people's trauma and stuff like go into my spirit. Like it fundamentally changed who I was as a human. And I always wanted other people to have that experience, which is why I became a counselor. And I don't even like school like that, but I went to school for a whole extra 2 years and a half, just to make sure that I could, even if I never was a full-time counselor, like I can do stuff like this and just let y'all know, like it's real. But being robbed helped me to actually go to counseling for the first time. And I ain't never got out of counseling since. I'm Gucci, as you can tell, but it gives me a safe place to talk about my heartbreak, my hopes, my disappointments, the dreams that I thought I would have in life that are broken. My therapist affirms me and makes me feel like how I feel is important. I'm not competing with her to talk about her issues. She's not judging me. Therapy and counseling is your time to be human, to be open, to say what you need to say and to be validated, and for somebody to hold you accountable and give you things to work on to make yourself better. Literally getting robbed at gunpoint was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I know that sounds crazy.
That's crazy. Well, we do have time for one more because I wanted to talk about this because this is a great segue into
Is this
this.
our gap year?
No,
Oh,
they wanted to talk about how do they deal with trauma triggers when they have flashbacks to trauma in a public place.
so I saw that question and that one's a loaded question. So how much time do I have?
We got about 6 or 7 minutes.
Is there, I don't want to even bust nobody out about that. I don't know how to answer that fully because I don't know what that looks like.
Okay, the
Because,
person that wanted to talk about that, I'll have them email you.
okay, but I'll still talk about it. But yeah, have them email me. So say the question again for me because ADHD be like,
I understand. I'm there. Dealing with trauma trigger flashbacks in a public place.
so when I was younger, I saw two people get carjacked. So, you know, been from Compton, Long Beach, you know, it's a lot of things you see. And I actually, the guy who sexually assaulted me, I'm his children's mom is in my sorority. And so I follow her on Insta because we're friends, but her kids look just like him. And one day I was scrolling my Instagram while I was out somewhere, and she just posted a picture of her kids, which is what people do when they mamas and they got kids. And man, I just started crying in public. And I was like, what are you crying about? So the first thing to do whenever you get to a safe space is to like console yourself. Even in that moment, just say, hey, we're not there anymore. We're safe. We're good. We're safe. We're good. And I love you. We're safe. So the first thing in that moment, remind yourself that that is in the past and you are in the present and you are safe. And just take some breaths and let yourself be human. Some people have been taught not to cry, and some people have been taught it's okay to cry. If you've been taught it's okay to cry, cry. It's cleansing. It's like the rain cleanses pollution out the sky and then nourishes the earth and makes flowers come out. It's okay to cry. But if you've been taught because of gender, because of family dynamics, or because of just people telling you your tears don't mean nothing, and you don't cry outwardly, let yourself cry on the inside. Like, give yourself permission to feel how you feel. Yeah, let yourself know you're safe. Give yourself permission to feel how you feel, and maybe journal or talk about it, because triggers look different. For me, it was like I just started crying. So unfortunately, for not that it really matters, I had to I don't unfollow her, but I had to mute her because I don't want to see her kids, because it unconsciously still triggers my sexual assault experience. But so everywhere in life, you're going to always have triggers. And what I tell people about triggers is that they're a blessing. Triggers allow you to know where you still need to heal. So you could think you just Gucci, we good, we good. And then something just make you feel some kind of way, or embarrassed or sad, or like, oh shoot, I feel like my 5-year-old self that got molested, or I feel like that, 10-year-old that saw, somebody with a gun to my brother's head, like, or I remember the 12-year-old me that was homeless and like nobody knew, like, you just have to go back to that place and comfort and console that part of you and let them know where you are now. If you need to get to a safe space, like go in a car, in a room, in an office. Hey, if you're in class, ask your teacher if you can just step out for a second and, get some breaths or some air. If you like out on a quad or in the yard, whatever y'all call it at your school, just, tell your friends like, yo, I need a minute, and just take a walk and breathe and tell yourself positive things and just kind of affirm yourself. I'm safe. That happened then. I'm a boss now. I'm safe now. A lot of stuff happens to people when they're young and they're powerless. And they take that feeling of powerlessness into teenage years and into adulthood. And that's how people get in bad relationships, because somebody took their power when they were like 5 or like 8 or like 10. And I have to remind people when I coach or counsel that the older you get, the more empowered you become. The 11-year-old, you may not have been able to stop her, because women do sexually abuse kids too. You may not have been able to stop her from touching you, or you may not have been able to stop him from like making you do things that you didn't want to do. But as a 16-year-old, as an 18-year-old, you're not in the same place that you were then, and you don't have to tolerate the same thing that you did as a kid. So that's also a good one, just reminding yourself of who you are now versus who you were then. I hope that's helpful because it's not just that person who asked it. I know it's a thing for other people who are in the room. So hopefully that answer is helpful.
Absolutely. Now we are up against the bell, but
Yeah.
first of all, tell us where to follow you, because you are a great Instagram and YouTube follow.
So my counselor Instagram is at the Compton Counselor. So Compton and Counselor. And then my public IG is also Queer Auntie. So QUEERAUNTIE. I have a TikTok that's kind of boring, but I still like it. I'm starting a couple other TikToks. I'm also creating a Black college and career platform soon. It's called Unapologetically Blurty. And Blurty is the Black learning, education, research, development, and entrepreneurship epicenter. So it does have an IG page as well, but that name is long, so you can find it on the Compton Counselor or Queer Auntie. I have a YouTube channel, the Compton Counselor. Everything that there is, from email to TikTok to IG to YouTube, it's the Compton Counselor all day, every day.
Yeah, and And before we go, I just think it's so important. And as I mean, and just always, we thank you
Hey,
so much
y'all,
for joining us.
y'all
I mean,
can hit me like I'm a real person, like real talk. Y'all can hit me if you tell me that somebody's abusing you, or you're gonna hurt somebody else, or you're gonna hurt yourself, or something like that. I'm gonna have to snitch.
yeah.
I'm a mandated reporter. But if you have questions about college, career, sexuality, how to find counseling, what kind of like YouTube channels to follow for that, like y'all, you're free to hit me, like DM me on Queer Auntie or the Compton Counselor, hit me on email, like it's the Compton Counselor at everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I always try to encourage, you always want to follow these celebrities, follow some positive people. I mean, I love celebrities too, but I'm not, that's not all I care about. Find people that are talking about things that are important to you. Maybe that can get you some answers. But before
Yep.
we go, and it's amazing how the wisdom you have, and it's just amazing our connection we still have all these years later. Two similarly different people that think alike on so
You
many.
tell them the real life of how we connected. Have you ever told them?
I'll tell them, but we don't have time right now. But I will definitely tell
Tell
them.
them.
It's a
Tell them.
great story. Um, but we talked about some things they're going to face. We have some first generation Americans that are going to see this later. We have
Ah,
we have some Spanish speakers, Chinese speakers that'll see this later. We may have some that are
how
uh,
and hola, my people.
yeah,
Sing.
we may have some that are disabled. We may have some that are dealing with identification issues. So no matter whether you're dealing with that or you fall in that group or not,
Send
these
me.
these
Send me
stresses are,
the.
yeah, exactly. These
Yeah.
stresses are going to come. It doesn't matter who you are, no matter where you come from, but what is the main thing to remember to overcome these obstacles as they transition from high school to their next step?
One, be unapologetically who you are. If you don't speak no English, you're going to learn it. When people talk about your accent because it's broken, I am on my second language, probably my third, and you're barely on your first, and you can't even speak your own first language good. Sometimes a little clapback ain't ever hurt nobody, but no, but honestly, be unapologetically you. Give yourself grace and console yourself, like be your own biggest fan and your own biggest supporter. Be the most attracted to yourself. Um, and then also find resources to do the work, like do your thing and don't make excuses. That's probably it. Like just and be a good human. Don't be out there using people and being trifling. Like, don't do that. Be a
Yeah,
good human.
and another thing that I always say is find ways to diversify yourself, because me and you were on the outside, we're two completely different people. But if you look at the way we're open minded and came together and are able to do things like this and show that being a diverse person really makes you better, yeah, I really
Yeah,
think
you're my spirit, non-melanated human.
I appreciate it. And it's I appreciate every time you do this for us, and I love you to the moon and back.
So happy.
And
I love you too.
I'm ready for you to come back to Mississippi.
I'm ready to come back too. Nice to meet you all. I feel the energy. Hopefully, something I said helps somebody. Follow me on everything. Hit me up. Like, share it with your mamas. There's a video called "When Loved Ones Invalidate Your Feelings and Thoughts." That's like has like 8,000 views. Send it to your people.
I love it. So Lashonda King, all the way from Oakland, California. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. See you, buddy.